define your team. Once you know what you want to do and where you're going, right? Where you're going, what you want to do and what you don't want to do, you can then start defining everyone in the team. You can start defining the directors of the company if you're at the top of the company. You can start defining the managers under those directors. You can start defining the specialists under those managers. If you are a manager, you can start defining all of the specialists that you need under you. If you're a marketing manager, you can say, I need an SEO person, a PPC person, a video editor, and a content writer. These are the people I need in my team to achieve this vision that I want to achieve, right? And so based on that, you can determine a few things. Like, you can ask yourself a few questions. For example, you can ask yourself, who do I have on my team now that's aligned to my vision, right? Because maybe out of these 5 people that you need on your team, you already have 3 of them, right? Okay. The next question is, are these people that are already in these 3 roles, are they in the best positions for their specific skill sets and personality and attitude and so on to reach our goal, right? From there, you can determine if it's a yes. You can say, okay, these people are here, but then you can ask the next question, is there anyone on my team that is not a good fit in their role? And then you might have, 2 people might be great, but this one person, they're really not cutting it. They're really falling behind. They're not staying, they're not adapting to how the market is shifting and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of things that can be unaligned between where you want to take the team. So if you have a specific vision and you have a team in place, you need to see if these people will get you there. And if some of them will not, you need to see, do I need to move them to a different role within the company? Or do they need some training? Or do they need to be removed from the company? And so let me regress a little bit on action steps. So you should definitely have action steps in terms of your superpowers. What are the things that you play at? This just comes naturally to you. Write all of those down. And you should also have another list of everything you dislike doing or you're just not good at, right? Typically, they're one and the same thing. What you're good at, you typically play at, it's a superpower, and what you're bad at is typically things you dislike. So have those 2 lists, and then once you have those lists, then start defining your team. That's the second step, action step, and within that action step, please define your team based on your vision. Look at the vision of what you want, your 3 to 5 year vision, and then say, what team do I need to have in place in order for that vision to be a reality? So don't define your team as in what it is now. Define your team as what it has to be, the specific roles, the specific level of competence, the specific outcomes for every role, and so on and so forth, so that if this team comes together and works together, we will have this vision. It's almost a certainty. The only one thing I want to mention within this process of defining what is basically your org chart is that you need to make it you should make it a rule whilst defining that in your own mind, that at no point in the execution of any role within the org chart am I personally a bottleneck. So if you're a manager and you have 5 people under you, you need to define the roles and responsibilities of those people and the guidelines and everything you give them. And we'll talk more about how to define people or positions within the company and how to help everyone in those positions. But basically, you need to create an org chart that functions and gets that result that you want, that vision, with or without your involvement. You can literally go off for a week, a month, a year, or whatever, and these people that are on your team should still be able to conduct day-to-day business and grow the team and the business whilst you are not there. Or the only one caveat I make here is that not having to be there is different than wanting to be there. You might want to lead the business, you might want to be the manager, you might want to be the director, you might want to have whatever role you have right now. So for you, you can say, Robert, it doesn't make sense. Why would I make myself redundant within my company? I don't want to do that. I want my role. I like my role. Okay, I'm not telling you to make yourself redundant. What I'm telling you is to make yourself redundant with the purpose of empowering your team so that when you are there, and if you can be there full-time or part-time or whatever, but when you are there, you add value on top of what the team is already doing. That's the redundancy I'm talking about. For example, I'm an engineer by background. What we learn in engineering, when you build circuit boards, a circuit board, and I can just explain, for example, a motherboard, because that should be easy for anyone. You have a processor, you have RAM, you have a hard drive, you have multiple things that go into a motherboard that basically connect everything in your laptop or in your computer. We were told as a principle of engineering that your circuit is not complete until you have redundancy in every single part of the circuit. Why? Because if one part of the circuit gets damaged, let's say you have a link between your RAM, random access memory, and your drive, your hard drive. Everything that's processed is processed between the processor and the RAM, and then the RAM feeds that to the hard drive. All of that information, whatever needs to happen, happens with your RAM. And then it goes to the hard drive, it gets saved there. So if there's only one link between RAM and hard drive, if that one link, one circuit gets damaged, the entire flow stops. It doesn't matter that the RAM works perfectly. It doesn't matter that the processor works perfectly. It doesn't matter that the hard drive works perfectly. If that one thing stops, then the entire environment, the entire system collapses. So that is what we're saying when we're saying you cannot be that line, that circuit, that bottleneck. If you go on vacation for 2 weeks, people lose it. They can't do everything that they need to do. If you have a, God forbid, an issue, like a health issue, then again, you're in hospital or otherwise you can't do whatever you need to do. And you're not closing deals anymore, or you're not delivering for clients anymore, or the product quality goes down. Whatever happens when you're not there, that's not okay. You need to define your team in a way that they should be able to succeed with or without you present. And if you're there, the only difference is that the level of success is higher than it would otherwise be. So we looked towards ourselves until now, and how do we define the direction? And now let's look at our team. In terms of our team, and the way I'm explaining this visually to you is because all of these are parts of the foundation, right? And within the team, you need to understand that just like with the vision, how we explain the entirety of the vision, we need to explain every single role of the team that needs to be filled in order for us to achieve the vision at the level of success we want it to. For example, let's say right now you're a small company, has 5 clients, 1 employee, right? And you're doing marketing for them. If you want to have 100 clients and you want, let's say you're making 50 grand or whatever, 100 grand a year right now, and you want to go to 1 million. So you want to do 10 times more. You by default understand you can't do that by yourself and with one other person. So you need, let's say, 3 other people, 1 chief of marketing, 1 ads person, and 1 SEO guy, right? So those people, or whatever those people are within your team that you need, that is what you define. If you're a manager and you're mid-level, right, you can also define things below yourself, at your level, and above yourself. You can say, hey guys, I really feel we need a director of sales. I really feel we need a mentor because we're hitting a roadblock. And this is real. If you're managing your team correctly, and we talk about this at later levels, people will come to you and say, I want this manager and I want this leader in the organization. And you will be surprised at how much people know what they want once you give them authority to do this. What you need to do first is to define that team to the best of your ability. Explain everyone you think you will need to have in your company. Here are some of the questions you can use as guidelines, right? So number one, who is on your team right now? It might be just you. If it's just you, if you work in 2,000 employee unit, you can just talk about the people that are immediately next to you. Like, who are the 5, 10, 20 people that are in my parameter? So who's on my team right now? Number two is, are these people in the correct or best positions for us to reach our vision, our goal? Because you might have people, for example, in sales positions that might do better in a sales manager position because they do good with helping others, right? And so instead of them trying to close deals, I would rather hire 2 more salespeople and have this one person help them sell more. Why? Because this way we don't get half of a salesperson, because remember, half of their time they were using to sell, the other half of their time they were using to help others and to support their team, which they were naturally doing and they were enjoying that. And you can ask them, do you like this? Do you want to lean into that? And they say, yes, of course. Okay, perfect. Let's get more people. I get 2 other people. I make this person now be a manager of these, a mentor. And now, instead of half of a person of productivity of sales, I get 2 full-time people of sales productivity, which means 4 times more, right? So number one, you look at your team, and number two, you ask, are these people in the best positions for us to achieve our goal? They might be, and you might just need more people or different people. However, if they're not, this second question answered that. Number three is there anybody on my team that maybe isn't going to be with us in the future? And this is very important because some people on the team really shouldn't be there. They might have been great until now. However, if we want to scale, if we want to go past everything we've done until now, you have, or sometimes you have to take hard decisions. I don't think they're hard, but they're not comfortable. Let's say you have to take uncomfortable decisions of letting people go that have added value to your life. You've added value to their lives. However, they can't move on. For example, if, let's say, in the age of AI, if people write custom content that isn't bringing in enough traffic, it doesn't matter how good the content is. Again, if it doesn't bring in enough traffic and they take several days to complete, they will be left behind. And you cannot keep paying their salary when for their salary you can get someone as good as they are, however, that are also willing to use AI and then basically get, let's say, bullet points or starting topics or do research with it or whatever, basically cutting down the article writing to half. So if this person can write maybe 10 articles a month, this person that uses AI can write 40 articles a month with equal quality. I'm not going to pay 4 times more for the same result, because basically this is what I'm doing. If I'm paying this person, whatever, $1,000, $2,000 a month to just write articles, and this other person I'm paying the same $2,000 a month, and I'm getting 4 times more from here, this person isn't adapting. I might keep them if I want to, however, this person won't feel good because they will expect 4 times more salary because their output is 4 times more than this other person, because again, the quality is the same. So let's be honest, that's the only way in which you can compare apples to apples. If the articles are the same level of quality and these 2 people are, one is 4 times more productive, you basically have to tell this person either you adapt and you become better or your salary will never increase, because I will just hire people that have much higher outputs than you. That's also for some people it's a difficult question to ask. And it's a very uncomfortable conversation to have. However, you have to have those with the people that are on your team if they're not adapting to whatever society needs of them, so that you stay relevant within your niche. We recommend every single company have an organizational chart. We talk a lot about org charts. We even give an example in the book, like visual example. But basically, we believe every single company has, and by the way, this is legally you have to have all of this. So number one, you have to have an owner or a board of directors, right? A chairman or chairperson. Then you have to have a CEO, basically the executive director, the person that's responsible for day-to-day activities. So the owner and the CEO many times are the same person. And then below the CEO, you have 3 departments or 3 directors. You have the director of finance, which is, by the way, legally you have to have one. You have to have an accountant, or you have to have a treasurer, and so on and so forth. So you have to have a director of finance. Then you have to have a director of operations, who is, again, legally responsible for delivering service or product or whatever you need. And then you have to have a director of sales, right? Or revenue, we call them a director of revenue. Legally, you're not in business until you sell something. So you have to have someone in charge of revenue. In a solopreneur world, when you're a freelancer, you're the only person, you're the owner, executive director responsible for everything. You're responsible for accounting, you're responsible for delivering, and you're responsible for sales. However, if you want to scale, you can't be all things to all people. Remember, you can't do everything yourself. So you'll have to find a fractional CFO, you'll have to find the chief of ops, you'll have to find the chief of revenue, and so on and so forth, or vendors for all of these. For example, we don't do finances in our companies because we also work with accountants for this. However, we do operations. Our clients come to us and say, hey, we're struggling a lot with operations, we're churning chiefs of operation, they're not handling it, or we have an amazing chief of operation, but there's literally just too much work, we can't handle everything. And then one of my companies comes in and handles the operations for other businesses. That's literally what we do. And then the business can skyrocket because everything else was fine. In terms of revenue as well, why people come to us is because they want more leads, they want more revenue, more sales. So we have one of our companies that literally just does that. So we don't tackle finance, but we tackle 2 of these other ones. And we also tackle executive level things, which is consulting and so on and so forth. So you can understand that this org chart is mandatory for every single company. This is how an org chart has to be legally for you to be fine. And then below that, you can have anything you want, or you can have multiple departments. You can have a separate department for customer success. We have customer success under operations. You can have separate departments for sales and for marketing. In our case, sales and marketing are 2 teams below revenue. We have one person in charge of revenue, and then that person needs to make sure marketing generates quality leads and sales converts those quality leads into sales. One person is in charge of both of these. That's how you get, a very good dynamic between the 2 teams. Once you define this org chart, so this is an action step if you haven't realized, so you need to define this org chart of everyone in every position. And by the way, these are roles, these are not people yet, these are roles. This is director of ops, team leader of customer support specialist, right? So these are roles that you have in the company, and you define the entire company however you need it. And then you think about the people. So you don't create roles for the people, you create the roles for the vision. So if I have this overarching vision, what people will I need in place to be able to basically fulfill that vision? And then if you have 5 people on the team or 20 people or whatever, you write their names, there, and you can say, okay, the CEO is this person, the chief of finance is this accounting firm, the chief of revenue is this marketing firm, blah, 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 right? You have everything written down, and you can see who is there and who is missing. Your only job, if you're a business owner, is to get and keep customers. That's it. That's the only job you have. Nothing else matters for you, right? As the business owner. It's almost the same as the director of revenue. Everything else should be delegated to competent people. If you're an accountant by profession and you like doing the accountant and accounting things and filling the books and so on, you can do that. Perfect. However, your responsibility legally and morally is still just to get and keep clients. That's your only responsibility as a business. Everyone else in the organization can have different levels of responsibility. Based on that responsibility, and you can also do this at every level of the organization, because this is the thing that matters most in business, you can ask yourself these questions. For example, how do I get more customers? Let's say you're a customer success representative, or even different. Let's say you're in business administration and you deal with calendar work and emails and so on and so forth. So you have nothing to do with clients. Like you're literally your business administration person. How is the question, how do I get more clients, relevant to me? Well, what I can do is when I structure the calendar of people, I make sure to prioritize revenue generation activities on top of things that aren't making money. Another thing I can do is when I email people, I can email them in a way that makes their priorities very clear in terms of, hey, you should be doing this, remember this. If they have 5 things to remember, you need to think, what's the one that will make us most money? That's the one. That's what will get us most clients. You need to prioritize this. So that's just an example. We are not that money driven in our companies, if maybe it sounds like that. We are very, very purpose driven. We're very culture focused. If you're in any of our companies, you will see that we are very close to one another. We're a very tight-knit family type of vibe. At the same time, we understand that we're here to do business together. And so business is in the form of customers and getting value to those customers. If you're in any other department, you can ask yourself these questions, right? So number 1, how can I get more clients? Number 2, how can I keep those customers? So how can I deliver more value? How can I ask for feedback and tweak my service or product based on that, etc., etc.? How can I, let's say, design my business and my role to best achieve my vision? And again, you can teach this to anyone in your company. Anyone in your company can have a vision statement for themselves, and they can ask themselves, how can I achieve this, right? And how can we achieve this together? Another thing you can ask is, how can my team or my organization be self-sustainable? What needs to be in place? Who are the people that need to be in place? Or how can I make myself redundant? So for example, if I'm a CEO, I need, again, all of these in place. I need finances, operations, and revenue. All of these need to be in place in order for everything to work, and I can take a vacation. However, let's say I'm an engineer. Well, how can I help the organization be self-sustainable? Everything I know, and only I know in the company, is a bottleneck on me. If I go on vacation, if I am sick, if any project is dependent on me, I will feel it when I need to take off, because no one else can do what I do. And that's not a good place to be in, because then it will happen. Bad things will happen, you'll have issues with your pet, with your spouse. You'll have an accident. You'll want to take more time off. Everyone will be pulling on you, and you will mutually frustrate one another, because only you can do this. But if you need 2 weeks off for between Christmas and New Year's, you can't take off. So don't be that person. Literally think, okay, what do we need in place? We need another person that's exactly like me, that knows how to do everything I do, so that we can, at the end of the day, all succeed together and make this company work. In terms of the org chart, again, we have examples of the org chart. We go into it in the business, and we're basically in a place where we define everything in the org chart. We already talked about that, and we already talked about not being the bottleneck. You need to define the org chart in a way in which the things do not come back to you. Everyone has all of the tools that they need, right? Where that's information, like, hey, how do I deal with this client? Well, here's a document with 100 canned replies, right? We literally have everything that we need here. Any situation, you can basically use those as inspiration, and you can come up with a different canned reply. When I come back from my vacation, I'll check what you've done, and I'll make recommendations if I have any. Otherwise, they will be perfect. So you're basically empowering them with the knowledge that they need to be able to deal with any situation, right? So you're never bottlenecked.